Good morning, members and guests. My name is Frank Kelly, and I'm chairman of the board for the Capital Region Minority Supplier Development Council. Um, it's now 10:15, and I'd like to call this meeting to order 12/3/2021 of the CRMSDC Council's 2021 Annual Business Meeting. We are so delighted to have each of you present to celebrate our successes, showcase highlights of 2021, and our vision for the future. Just before we get started, I'd like to express my gratitude to all of you who so generously helped to make this event come together smoothly. Our President CEO, Sharon Pender, and her staff, council members, guests, and Grego. Thank you. Without you, this could not have been done. The Capital Region Minority Supply Development Council has remained steadfast in its commitment to support MBE's corporate and government members by providing services that help ensure supply diversity goals are met through the engagement of highly qualified and prepared MBEs. Our board of directors provide leadership and guidance by developing our annual plans, organizational goals, which serves as a blueprint for achieving our mission. We are honored and grateful for the services and commitment that our board of directors display every day to help us advance our vision, mission, and goals. Now, it is indeed my honor and privilege to introduce to you the CRMSDC Board of Directors. The Board of Directors, I'd like to thank and to present to you our current presentation of the officers and directors: Secure Garcia, Sharon Pender, Kimberly Marcus, Ann Ramakura, Karen, Tracy Edwards, Secretary Jimmy Reed, Byrne L. Stroud Jr., Kevin Williams, Rita Brooks, Jonathan Butler, Angela Clark, Martha Crawford, Darlene Fuller, my eyes, I have old eyes, Sharita Gaithers, Claude Gregory, Gohaz Nazi Hamadani, Blair Hayes, Kelly Heron, Sonia Hopkins, Anthony Erumathanian, Clarissa Jackson, Gwen Johnson, Janelle Joyner, Roland L. Jones, Allison Kubik, Charles Martin, Nicole Parker, Gerard Mikhail Ricks, Media Roxy Murray, Graylin Smith, Arnold Sowa, Paul Taylor, Carla Underwood Gar, Robert L. Wallace, Rupert R. Warner Jr., Christy C. Whitfield, Roxanne Wilson. Thank you. And I want to offer my thanks to an awesome board of directors for a wonderful job that they've done this year, and their untiring efforts that they've provided each and every day on behalf of this board. We'd also like to thank our unsung heroes for their services and report. Sheila Du Johnson, Robin Snyder, Voltaire Walker, and Cora Williams. We are so grateful and thankful for your services that you have provided, and we wish you all the success and happiness in your retirement and in the years to come. Once again, we thank you for your service, and at this time, I'd like to introduce to some but many know her. It's Sharon Pender, who is the president and CEO of CRMSDC. She's a renowned expert of diversity and inclusion. Sharon has transformed the landscape of minority and women-owned businesses, leveling the playing field and creating increased opportunities for businesses to succeed. At CRMSDC, Sharon brings challenges and innovations. In her first 18 months here, in her tenure, she won $4 million in grants from the Department of Commerce Minority Business Development Agencies for a new MBDA center, Capital Region, and the national only procurement center solely dedicated to helping MBEs obtain federal contracts. She also has implemented several signature programs significantly enhancing services to both corporate members and MBE suppliers. So please join me in welcoming our President and CEO, Sharon Pender.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next slide, please. And thank you for your commitment to NMSDC, Capital Region Minority Supply Development Council. I'm sorry, multitasking in my brain. And it's been a great experience in terms of your leadership over the past year. And so I join you in welcoming our new board of directors as we continue our journey. It becomes more significant as we move forward because guess what? Next year, we will be celebrating our 50th year. And that is something, our golden anniversary, and that's something to be said. My job right now is to bring on our national president, President Ying McGuire. But before we do, because what we've asked her to do as new president, national president, is to be reflective in terms of what's to come. She has great vision, great capacity in terms of doing great things. But as the National Minority Supply Development Council began to also celebrate its 50th year, we wanted to be able to take just a moment to reflect back over the last 50 years of before we move forward. And so this may be the last time we get to show this clip about what we accomplished or our origin, our history of the Capital Region Minority Supply Development Council.
We have always been ready. Workmanship, strategy, competition. Minorities in America's field of entrepreneurship have never been strangers to these key elements for success. Of course, for centuries we were unable to apply those skills in a fair and open market. Even in the years immediately following the signing of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, prepared minority businesses, some of which had been preparing for decades, still weren't meeting sufficient opportunity. Newly armed with the right to vote, African Americans immediately set out to elect representatives who would look out for their interests. By the early 1970s, economic empowerment was the name of the game, and the country's minority purchasing councils were making a full-court press for progress. In 1972, the Greater Baltimore Minority Purchasing Council and the Metropolitan Washington, D.C. Minority Purchasing Council joined ranks with the National Minority Purchasing Council. They were funded by corporations, with corporate members of the council offering guidance, insight, and advocacy. Though minority purchasing councils nationwide were influential, these councils in the Capital Region enjoyed the unique benefit of proximity to seats of federal and state government power. In the Capital Region, this has resulted in millions of business investment dollars and countless training, certification, and employment opportunities for both fledgling and veteran contractors. Under the leadership of community-connected leaders like Harry Bass, Charles Owens, Kwame Brown, Ken Clark, Tracy Wiley, and current CEO Sharon Pender, inclusion in regional business initiatives has soared during the past 4 decades. The Capital Region Minority Supplier Development Council has played an integral role in that growth, For over 40 years, the Council has continued to connect minority suppliers to economic growth opportunities. Along the way, the Council has never forgotten to honor the accomplishments of its members and suppliers through accolades like the Leaders and Legends Award, the Woman of Color Awards, Corporation of the Year, Supplier of the Year, and the Reginald F. Lewis Lifetime Achievement Award. History has its ways of revisiting us, and the work of the Capital Region Minority Supplier Development Council remains as essential as ever. And throughout all these years, we've remained at the ready. Congratulations on 45 years of dynamic, empowering, inspiring service.
Okay, thank you. As we move on to our future, I'd like to bring someone up. And it's always very interesting to be able to look back over your shoulder of things that have occurred and why we're here. And the mission is still very, very real. But I'd like to bring someone on who sits at the helm that will help us as we begin to navigate the waters and look at what we look like in 2.0. And that is Ying McGuire, NMSDC President and CEO. She serves as the first Asian American Pacific Islander president and CEO, and bringing over 2 successful decades of leadership experience across both profit and nonprofit sectors. While at Dell Technology, Ms. McGuire drove the strategy and execution that quadrupled Dell's diversity spend from $640 million to $3 billion within 3 years. Subsequently, she joined an NMSDC certified MBE Technology Integration Group as executive leader and took the company global. Ms. McGuire has also delivered exceptional service in the civic sector, as a nonprofit leader, economic empowerment board member, and policy advisor to government agencies. In 2016, the United States Secretary of Commerce appointed her to the U.S. Investment Advisory Board. So the next voice you will hear is that of our leader, President Ying McGuire.
Well, thank you, Sharon. What a great video and showing the history. And good morning. I want to thank the 3-leg stool leadership team at the Capital Region, Frank Kelly, board chair, and Sharon. And then, of course, Kevin Williams, the MBIC chair, for inviting me to participate in this year's annual business meeting. Last Friday marked my first 100 days. Hopefully you all read my reflection for 100 days as a CEO and the president of NMSDC. I have been involved with the organization for over 15 years, like Sharon shared. First, in my role at Dell Technologies and a regional council board member and a board chair, and then as an MBE. But I've never seen the organization from the inside looking outwards. For the past 100 days, I've been listening to our team members, to our stakeholders intently with a very open mind. Earlier this week, I was able to spend some time with Frank, Shakira Garcia, Kevin, and Sharon on how we can best collaborate to help MB grow and bring real value to our corporate members. I have drawn tremendous wisdom and energy from those real dialogues with you. Looking at NMSDC world through lenses of our stakeholders has been a transformational experience for me. Since I'm no longer the new CEO, after you pass 100 days, you cannot call yourself new, but having the opportunity to participate in events like this in my new capacity is still very new and exciting to me. And I hope next year at this time, we will be together in person. No computer screens and Zoom calls. We apologize for a little bit delay this morning because we all struggled with technical difficulties. As you probably know, and Sharon mentioned, next year is a big year for both Capital Region Council and NMSDC, as we both are celebrating 50 years. And together, we not only have the opportunity to celebrate, but also to collaborate on many things, including advocacy, and be a leading voice with the policymakers on federal and local level. When I joined NMSDC as a leader, we first defined who are serving. So we said the corporate members are customers and MBEs, they are our clients. Our whole existence is to help our MBE grow. And that's why, it's exciting to have a Sharon extended team in our network, as Sharon's experience and expertise on policy is unrivaled. And together, there's such a potential to really make a difference for minority businesses. So here's what's going on at the national office. The executive team at the national office had a couple of strategy retreat where we began drafting a 5-year roadmap and 2022 plan based on input from all of our stakeholders. As I shared with you, I've been listening for the last 100 days. And also a study done by EY. So EY has spent about a little over 10 months, really look at what we got to work with, the current state of NMSDC and its network, and made recommendations for NMSDC 2.0. And I think starting January, I'm going to do a webinar and really share with you all these findings and what we're going to do about it. I'm all about, transparency and communications. So we're going to share with you what we know. So we have started designing a high-performance organizational structure, which I will share with you after the holiday, and really establish priorities for our 50-year anniversary year to build a momentum for the next 50 years. We most definitely have our work cut out for us. So 2022 will see us shape up at the status quo. And so what took us here will not get us there. We're going to elevate the minority business agenda to the CEO level and the policymakers. And you have seen some of that in our virtual conference happened a few weeks ago. Our conversation has been elevated to corporate CEO level and the policymakers. And really build and empower a strong team and driving a winning culture, adopting new technologies, and build cohesion in the network so we can work together to advance the NMSDC brand. And also, we're going to launch something we haven't done before, which is we call it 50 for 50 capital campaign, really to create an endowment fund for the future of minority businesses. So, many of you say, hey, what does the future of NMSDC look like? So first of all, I'm personally committed to owning and driving a collaborative and high performance culture at the national office, and will foster the same spirit and practices for the whole network. We did, with the help of one corporate members, we did our first culture survey at the national office, and the results is very humbling and eye-opening. And in order for us to win, we must build a collaborative, high-performance, accountable culture at the national office. And I just want to share with you, we have onboarded a VP of Strategic Alliances who actually lives here in the area to foster relationships and work with Sharon on advocacy agenda. And I expect her to work with all of you more closely and to really make an impact. As far as how we're celebrating next year anniversary, we plan to shake things up and offer signature events, which promise to be like no other. So I look forward to share with you more details on that early this year. And I want NMSDC to leverage our relationships with our regional councils and corporate partners and MBE so that we really can become one NMSDC. as the old saying goes, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. Yesterday, I made a statement, endorsed the White House. They issued a press release on Biden-Harris administration's reform to the federal procurement, and it's a bold new goal to increase the share of contracts going to small disadvantaged businesses, including minority-owned businesses, by 50% by 2025. I've never seen anything like that. So this is an unprecedented commitment to meaningful action to reduce the racial wealth gap in our country. And we have a huge role to play. We have been at the forefront of creating economic opportunities for communities of color for the past 50 years. People just start to talk about, we've been doing this. You have seen the video that we have been doing it for the past 50 years. And NMSDC certified minority-owned businesses generated $400 billion economic output annually and created and sustained 2.2 million jobs. It's not small chunk of change. However, we have not nearly reached our potential. So as we begin to shape our next 50-year agenda of accelerating the growth of minority businesses, we really are witnessing a truly remarkable moment in U.S. history. And you can see, the private sector, public sector, they're all demonstrating a very earnest commitment to inclusion, diversity in the economy, from education initiatives to access to capital to workforce development. And so this is our moment, but we don't want to just stay in the moment. We want to take the moment and make the moment into our movement. As we look ahead to 2022 and the 50th anniversary, please mark your calendar for our signature events. Like no other, scheduled for Leadership Week is going to be in May 9th to 13th. And our annual conference is going to be in New Orleans. We try to help the communities that have suffered so much from hurricane, COVID. And so that's going to be October 30th and November 2nd. And for the past 100 days, I have been hosting Huddle with Ying sessions. So I can have conversations with our corporate members and MBEs. So I will continue to host weekly Huddle with Ying sessions to continuing to meet many of you across our network. And so feel free to sign up and be part of the dialogue. I'm very excited to partner with you to tackle I call it BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goal of growing NMSDC certified MBE businesses revenue. As I shared earlier, we're at about $400 billion revenue collectively. But let's set a audacious goal to get to 1 trillion. So let's work together on this journey to 1 trillion. And thank you again for allowing me to participate in your event. And I look forward to working with you all in the future, and a happy holidays. Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you, Ying, for stopping by and being a part of our annual meeting. And I like the way that sounds as well in terms of that $1 trillion. That sounds really good to me. And so as we kind of move forward, the next thing we want to do is take a look. We talked about the past 45 years. We're talking about moving forward in 2022. So let's talk right now about what has occurred over this past year. We first started out by just acknowledging and thanking the folks that make this all possible. This slide shows our key sponsors, whether it's Exelon with BGE and Pepco, Southwest Airlines, Amicus, Hilton, CompuGain, JDC Events, SB & Company, and Stroud Priest. And if we then look at a lot of our sponsors, we'll see some other companies that you see on the screen right now. those are our sponsors. We also like to thank our corporate members, because without them, without the direction, when we look back over the last 2021, we picked up some new sponsorships and a couple of new national members that we've been courting for a while, Under Armour and Stride, as well as some new corporate members. And so we're real proud of that they have joined our portfolio. You know, here at the Capital Region, we are uniquely different in that we have in our portfolio the integration of corporations, government agencies, federal, state, and local jurisdictions as well. And that's kind of a look at our corporate members there. If you then look at what our corporate members are doing, we're always proud when we talk about that list of Fortune 500s and their rankings. You know, you look at Exelon is number 92 of the Fortune 500, or Southwest Airlines being number 336, but AT&T and Fannie Mae right up there near the top 100 or the Fortune 100. And so we always try to keep tabs, because when they make headlines, that helps in terms of them looking for contracts, right? And so you get a sense of what our corporations are doing to make a difference. Whether it's Exelon announcing their $36 million equity fund to support minority-owned businesses, or this what AT&T is doing, our United States Postal Service, our corporations continue to be successful. Speaking of headlines, I'd like to, we have some bragging rights here. For the third year in a row, we have made the list. And which list is that? That is the Washington Business Journal's list of the largest business advocacy group in the greater DC area. We, 3 years in a row, we started out 3 years ago with our ranking of number 13. We moved up to number 12. And then this year in 2021, we're number 11. And they've expanded their list, because when we first started, it was the top 25. Now it's the top 30 largest business advocacy group. And so really proud of that. We are also proud because we know that business is about relationships and turning those relationships into money. We have some new MOUs this year, one with the Frederick County Chamber of Commerce, and the other one, and we thank Christy Whitfield for the one that we have with the Department of Small and Local Business Development with the District of Columbia. So we continue to build those bridges and build relationships. Now, we looked at our corporate members. Let's take a look at our what we've did over this year in 2021. Certified, our certification list is going towards 600. We're over 550 right now, and 240 certifications. And then we always have some academy. This year we had a unique one that was funded by Exelon, and they had the wherewithal to stand up an academy, or what they call the Foundations Program, where they selected minority businesses. And at the end of our 6-month relationship, the idea is to help those businesses build capacity in the utilities industry. And so it's not just doing work with Exelon, but the idea was they are now ready to do business in the utilities across the board. And so congratulations, and we thank Exelon, Frank Kelly, Kelly Heron, Vernice Lewis, those out of Chicago, et cetera, for having the vision to stand this program up. And I believe, you heard it here, that it will become a best practice and a model from across the country. And speaking of, we keep bragging. I'd like to brag right now about our MBEs. This year, we had 3 regional winners from our Supplier of the Year, which means that they won here locally, but they went on to win at a regional level, Class 1 with Mercedita Roxas Murray with Montage Marketing, and you then see Daryl Wiggins, president of Digidoc, and then Anthony Aruhanathan, Zillion Technologies. And so we know that our MBEs are best in class. Some of our events that we do on an annual basis, Super Matchmaker, where we this year decided to have an MBE All-Star team to give some real talk, and we did that with Ann Ramakaruman, and Michael McCoy and Dennis Harkins. And so we know that Ann Ramakaruman, sorry, is an all-star that we continue to admire along with others. And this, we have been kind of hibernating. And so we were so happy to see each other because we bought golf back. And actually, it was the best attended golf session that we've ever had, our golf classic. We ran out of carts. Can you believe that? But we certainly had a successful route there. Internally with our infrastructure, we did a refresh of our website. And so if you have not seen it, we help you. You hope that you go there, and it does so many things for us now. I was just so happy to get a new website, and it's, of course, www.crmsdc.org. As you know, the extension of our service is some of the grants that we had. And so 2021 saw the end of 5-year commitment for 2 grants that we held for MBDA. But when we look at some of the things that have occurred, we received a new grant, our Coronavirus Response and Relief Center. And with that particular grant, we look at what we begin to kind of service here. Sorry, just one moment. We look at how we're servicing our folks, and we look at what we have done over the last 5 years in terms of the businesses we served, and the ones that we reached in our newsletters. And we look at 1.13 million that we assisted in securing loans, and 27 million that we were able to achieve in contracting opportunities. And so we look at that over the last year. That's not a bad day of work, right? And so we did that, and and pivoting with our hot sheets, newsletter, etc. Our hot chat. We continue to talk to minority businesses. We continue to talk through those policymakers that make a difference in the lives of minority businesses, and just folks that our folks, corporate members and minority businesses, wanted to hear about. One of the best attended podcasts that we had was David Gardner, the co-founder of Motley Fool, which is very interesting. But we also look at the dynamic work of Victor Hoskins and et cetera. One of the greatest achievements we had this year is that now you can find our podcast on Apple, Google, or Spotify. And so we think we're moving up into the big time there. And so when we look at where we've been, and I talked a little bit about, we said farewell to our old grants, and as we kind of bring on our new grants, but our consortium continues. But I want to talk about 5 years of operating 2 MBDA centers. And you look at the accomplishments there. $540 million in contracts that related to 4,000 jobs over the last 5 years. And that was with the business, our DC Business Center. With our Federal Procurement Center, we had $20.3 billion we achieved in contracts and 2,800 jobs that secured. We serviced 500 clients in our DC Center and serviced 1,300 plus clients in our Federal Procurement Center. But it made us stronger and better, and that experience was awesome because guess what? we have the opportunity to do something even bigger and better. We just in November announced the opening of the first ever business center in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And so we're real pleased and happy that MBDA selected us to stand up that center. Matter of fact, what I'd like to be able to do is kind of give you a flavor of which that occurred in case you weren't there and you weren't able to see it as we were streaming live. I'd like to be able to show that to you. And then this is all about how do we provide more resources for our minority businesses in terms of access to capital, contracts, and markets. We know how to do it. The numbers kind of tell the tale of what I just previously showed. But let's just take a look right now in case you missed it.
Welcome to the Virginia Minority Business Development Agency's open house. I am honored to join the grand opening of the first MBDA Business Center in the Commonwealth of Virginia.
We're so glad you're here because you're going to be a part of an historic occasion.
The work of the Business Center is designed to help minority businesses work through and obtain contracts to help to grow and sustain their business.
We hope to work toward facilitating even more contract awards, relationship building, partnership opportunities that will continue to advance the work of minority businesses, not only in Virginia, but across this country as well.
Through this center, we are all partners. I look forward to working together, and I thank you for inviting me to share in this celebration.
And so I hope you enjoyed that. That was our year in review. And we just keep on ticking and, just watch out to see what we will do next year.
Greetings to each and every one of you. Thank you so much for joining us in this year's annual meeting. My name is Kevin Williams. I'm the CEO of TechConnects, and I am the chairman of the Minority Business Enterprise Input Committee, and for here at CRMSDC, and also the national treasurer for the National Minority Supplier Development Council's MBEIC committee. I bring greetings to each and every one of you today on behalf of all of the MBEIC committee. Let me tell you, it is my absolute honor and pleasure to serve alongside of these amazing individuals whose responsibility is to simply advocate for all of the MBEs inside of our network here locally, and of course, nationally for all of the MBEs in the network. Our MBEIC has had an absolutely amazing year this year. All of our MBEs have worked tirelessly to remain engaged with each other, even in the midst of a pandemic. We absolutely had a chance to take advantage of all of the Zooming and all of the teaming that we've been able to do all year long, which has actually has enabled us to actually continue to stay connected with each other and to do the work that is so very necessary for our MBEs and for our corporations in the network. We have been blessed with amazing activity that has caused our MBEs to get engaged with each other and to stay engaged locally in the network. And we've been, working hard with other MBEs in other regions all over the country, including Puerto Rico. So the engagement piece for us has been extremely important and extremely critical in allowing us to do all the things that we've been able to do to work together with each other and to support our corporations in filling the needs for products and services that they are so gracious to give us an opportunity to serve them. I want to say a specific thank you to our committee chairs for the work that they have done in driving all of the MBEIC's initiatives throughout the course of the year. We've had an amazing engagement with our Community Services Committee, who has fed people in the communities of DC, Maryland, Virginia. They have clothed people in DC, Maryland, Virginia. We've educated, we've mentored in accordance with the MOU that Sharon put in place a couple of years ago with Bowie State University. We have hired people from Bowie State University to work with our MBEs in the companies throughout the course of the year. Folks, we've been busy. We ain't been hibernating, we've been working. So I want to say a hats off to them for the clothes that they've collected, the toys they collected for Christmas last year, and the money that they've raised. We just this past Thanksgiving have served over 1,000 meals and gathered over $2,500, $2,600 worth of food and turkeys, and drove all over DC, Maryland, Virginia to deliver meals. And I want to thank the companies from ACI and Renee Sanford from her company and the work that she's done to pull all these things together. And we want to thank Jacqueline Williams for her matching donation of $1,300 to provide funds. We have been working to engage each other in this network and to take care of representing what we can do as an organization, CRMSDC, for our community service effort in the community. We've had a great, robust year in legislative affairs with Harris Floyd from EZAV working in the field and advocating and working and training and listening to our MBEs and sharing information relative to who we are as MBEs, and just opening up conversations with legislators in Maryland and with DC and in Virginia, and participating on the front end of the legislative process that simply gets people to know a little bit more about who we are and what we do from a legislative perspective. And then from a federal engagement, we've had wonderful conversations with individuals at the SBA and at USDA to get more opportunities in the hands of our MBEs. So could not be more happy and proud of the work that's taking place there. I want to thank, Mark Evans and Julie for the work that they've done in our communications team. We have had amazing CEO roundtables with upwards of 45, 50 CEOs on our CEO roundtables. First Friday of the month, every Friday, we have had corporations come and share with us the things that they want to share with us to make us ready to receive the opportunities that they've got in front of us. We've had dynamic speakers from Allianz Science. We've had Caesars come. We've had Capital One come. So I just want to say, a real thank you to Mark Evans and for his leadership with our CEO roundtables, and an amazing time with Pitch Mania. We had a great time with Pitch Mania. I know that we got another slide on that. We had an amazing time watching our MBEs pitch to each other and to our corporations about who they are and what they do. Pitch Mania for us has become one of our staple events where it gives us a chance as MBEs to absolutely engage each other and share information with each other about who we are and what we do. Iman McFarland knocked it out the park. She was the first place winner from 21st Century. Khalid Malik, came on strong with Green Turnkey, and he came in second place. Deirdre Sherman, DigiDot, third place winner. And we had finalists, Wendell Carter and Sean Vaughn and Ted Wright, my man Ted the Connector from LPRI, did an amazing job rounding up. So we want to say thank you to the committee who pulled this thing off. Julie Diaz Asper, Shakira Garcia from Caesars, Allison Cuby from Capital One, Mark Evans, Gideon Fernandez. You guys are amazing, and we cannot not thank our title sponsor, Kimberly Marcus from AARP. What a wonderful, wonderful job we've had. Folks, if you haven't been active and engaged in this MBEIC, I'm telling you, 2022 is going to be a breakout year for us and the work that we do for each other and with the council. And we just could not be more thankful for the work that each and every one of you have done. And we're excited about the new leadership that's coming in and the work that we've got coming up for each and every one. So let me encourage you, MBEs and corporations, engage each other. That's what we're here for. The more we spend time getting to know each other, getting to like each other, and getting to trust each other, the better we're going to do and doing the best we can to take advantage of all of these 4 pillars that this organization represents. So thank you all so very, very much for your time and for your effort and for your energy and for your support. We look forward to working with you guys again in the upcoming year. Thanks again for allowing me to serve. I appreciate you. Enjoy the rest of the meeting. Thanks.
Thanks, Kevin, for a wonderful update. You guys are doing some amazing things. Now, it's my honor and privilege to introduce our keynote speaker for today, Dr. Anirban Basu. And for those of you who haven't heard of him speak, get ready for a real treat. Dr. Basu is chairman and CEO of Sage Policy Group, Inc., an economic and policy consulting firm headquartered in Baltimore, Maryland, with an office in Indonesia. The firm provides strategic analytical services to energy suppliers, law firms, medical systems, government agencies, and real estate developers, among others. In 2014, Maryland Governor Larry Hogan appointed him chair of the Maryland Economic Development Commission. He lectures at Johns Hopkins University in global strategy and has also taught international economics, urban economics, micro and macroeconomics at Hopkins. His radio show can be heard weekdays on 88.1 FM WYPR Baltimore. Dr. Basu earned his BS in Foreign Services at Georgetown University in 1990. He earned his master's in public policy from Harvard University's John F. Kennedy School of Government and his master's in economics from the University of Maryland, College Park. His Juris Doctor was earned at the University of Maryland School of Law. His doctoral work was completed at UMBC with a concentration in health economics. So please join me with a warm welcome for Dr. Basu.
Hear me out there. My name is Anirban Basu. Frank Kelly, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. We're going to talk about the economy right now. We're going to talk about the pandemic's impact, of course, but also try to look forward to 2022. I want to thank the leadership at the Capital Region Minority Supplier Development Council for inviting me. We are right now writing a report on their behalf. I've been working with Sharon Pinder now for several months to try to craft that narrative. And today's presentation will give you a bit of insight, I hope, into what that report will bring. Of course, it's just a taste because in a report, one can provide much more analytical depth. So if we can get the presentation up, yeah, there it is. Toward the post-pandemic world, of course, don't seem to ever be able to get there. You might remember back in June of this year, there was this notion that we're approaching the end of this, and then there came Delta. And then now, as Delta has begun, at least in some parts of the country, to fade, not necessarily in Michigan and some other parts of the country, but certain parts of the country, as more of us have been vaccinated, here comes Omicron. So there it is. But let's get into it. Let's talk about the economy and where we have been and what this all portends for our collective future into 2022. Let's talk about the broadest measure of economic progress in America, growth and output, measured by gross domestic product. Now, economics can be pretty complicated, of course, and I've taken steps to try to further complicate matters with this slide. Two colors of bars here. Blue colored bar is indexed to the left-hand axis, red colored bars to the right. You can see here precisely 31 years of data here, beginning with the recession of the early 1990s, but I'm going to focus on the right of the slide. Again, blue colored bar is indexed to the left-hand vertical axis, red colored bars to the right. The last blue colored bar here, reading from left to right, is the fourth quarter of 2019. You'll remember that we marched into 2020 with plentiful economic momentum. We were in the midst of the lengthiest economic expansion in American history, shut down the economy in March of 2020 because of this pandemic, this lingering pandemic. And indeed, reading from left to right, the first red colored bar is the first quarter of 2020, which embodies, of course, that March. Now, in the first quarter of 2020, the U.S. economy shrinks 5% on an annualized basis. Now, that's big news by itself. During the fourth quarter of 2008, for instance, which had been the worst quarter of our economic lives, the U.S. economy shrinks 8.4% on an annualized basis. So a negative 5% print is a big deal. Unfortunately, this time around, it was merely the appetizer for during the second quarter of 2020, the U.S. economy shrinks 31.4% on an annualized basis. That's that red bar that sinks to the south of this slide. And around that time, a furious debate breaks out in the economics community about what the initial phase of recovery might look like. Would it be U-shaped, L-shaped, Nike swoosh, check mark, square root, hockey stick. It was a straight up V. For during the third quarter of 2020, the US economy races back, growing 33.4% on an annualized basis, demonstrating that under the right circumstances, the US economy is still capable of producing enormous recuperative power. Now, by the fourth quarter of last year, US economic growth is slowing once again. You'll remember that the previous president signed the CARES Act, a $2.2 to $2.3 trillion stimulus package on March 27th of last year. More stimulus was injected into the economy in April, including more money for paycheck protection. But then for many months after April of 2020, no major stimulus was injected into the economy. Now, stimulus is a stimulant. It has short-term features. So over the course of the summer of 2020 and into the fall, that stimulus was working its way through the economy. The economy was reopening in fits and starts. The economy takes off. But by the fourth quarter, the impact of that stimulus has begun to wane. And also there was a viral surge coming out of the post-Labor Day period. And so economic growth slows. Stimulus is injected into the economy by the Trump administration once again on December 27th of last year. And then again by the Biden administration on March 11th of this year. That's the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. And so during the first half of 2021, the US economy takes off again, growing more than 6% on an annualized basis. By the third quarter, economic growth slows once again. And you can see that here in the caption toward the southeast slide, growth slowing to 2.1%. But not only did the third quarter bring forth a period of slower economic growth, it also created more inflationary pressure. You've heard this a million times perhaps by now, but consumer prices rising 6.2% between October of last year and October of this year. My guess is millennials are probably the most surprised among us because millennials probably thought inflation is 2% a year. What's the big deal? Every year. Some of us older folk know that that's not true, that you can have inflation much higher than 2%, and that's what we've been experiencing. We'll talk about other aspects of economic life. Now, third quarter slowdown notwithstanding, along this dimension, America is more than fully recovered. By the second quarter of this year, GDP was 0.8% above its pre-recession tally. But along many other dimensions, America is not fully recovered, including, for instance, the labor market. Now, my slide seems to have been a little bit messed up here, but we got a jobs report this morning. You probably heard about that. In November, the nation added 210,000 jobs, and the media will portray that by and large as a deeply disappointing number, and it is. The consensus estimate coming into this data release was that the nation would add about 570,000 jobs, or had added about 570,000 jobs in November. The number came in at 210, right? So just about as disappointing as perhaps, let's say, the Washington Wizards. But in fact, if you peer behind that headline number, some really good news there. Unemployment falling once again into the low fours, the lowest rate of unemployment during the pandemic. We saw a significant decline in unemployment among the Black/African American population in November, though it should be said that also we saw the labor force for that group also decline in size, unfortunately. So there was some good news out there. And in fact, if you look at the household survey, these data reflect the establishment survey. If you look at the household survey, in fact, America added lots of jobs according to that separate survey that no one really pays attention to. But in fact, again, the headline number was disappointing, but if you peer behind the data, pretty good. Now, that said, and again, the blue color bars are next to the left-hand axis here, the red color bars to the right, but for some reason, this axis has become messed up. But the point is we continue to add jobs, but we're not fully recovered along this dimension. If you compare February of 2020 employment versus November of 2021, we're down 3.9 million jobs still. So why these goalposts here? February of 2020 is the last pre-pandemic crisis month for the economy. November of 2021 is the last month for which we have data. In fact, these data were released this morning, the November 2021 data. And these horizontal bars represent the number of jobs lost for each of these categories. So what I'm trying to tell you here is that leisure and hospitality category has lost 1.3 million jobs since the onset of the pandemic. So you would think, and that includes, for instance, categories like restaurants and hotels, you would think that restaurants would have a very easy time hiring right now because so many restaurant workers have lost their jobs during the pandemic. But it's just the opposite, that the labor force has shrunk over the course of the pandemic. We did get some good news today. The labor force participation rate rose from 61.6% in October to 61.8% in November. So more people are jumping back into the workforce. That's good news. We need more people to come back, of course, if we're going to have meaningful recovery in 2022. But November suggests that more people, in fact, are coming back. So good news. Nonetheless, my guess is that for many of you, your principal challenge has related to your human capital, your workers, finding them, retaining them, paying for them. Because wages have been rising rapidly in the current economic context, a context associated with too few workers and lots of available job openings. And you might have noticed in previous surveys that the so-called quits rate has been at a record high. During the last month, for which we have data, 4.4 million Americans quit their jobs in 1 month. That's 3% of the workforce quit their jobs in 1 month. So it's not even just difficult simply to recruit folks, it's hard to hold on to folks. And so that's one of the factors that we see here. And nonetheless, along this dimension, we're not fully recovered, and we need more Americans to come back into the workforce. Now, this slide looks okay. This gives you some regional economic perspective. So again, this is for the period February of 2020 through October of 2021. We don't yet have the November data at the sub-national level. It's employment growth, but it's largely a mistitled slide because there's very little evidence of employment growth here. So if you look at these 25 major metropolitan areas, are the largest in our country, there are a handful of regions that added jobs thus far during the pandemic. At number 1, Phoenix, Arizona. Now, the governor of Arizona is a guy named Doug Ducey. Doug Ducey, one of these governors, very aggressive in keeping his state's economy open during the worst of the crisis. At number 2 is Dallas. The governor there is a guy named Greg Abbott, much of the news recently. Greg Abbott, again, very aggressive in keeping his state's economy open. Tied for number 3 are San Antonio, which again is in Texas, and Tampa. The governor of Florida is a guy named Ron DeSantis, likely presidential candidate on the Republican side for 2024. Ron DeSantis, again, one of these governors, very aggressive in keeping the economy open. Cherry picking now at number 6, Atlanta. The governor there is Brian Kemp. Brian Kemp of Georgia was the first to reopen his economy, happened on April 20th of last year. Now, so some governors very focused on keeping their economies open and hewing as close to normalcy as possible. Other governors much more focused upon the public health implications of this pandemic. At the bottom of the second column, New York Metro. The governor of New York, of course, Andrew Cuomo, for much of this period, now it's Kathy Hochul. Andrew Cuomo was one of the more aggressive governors in terms of shutting down his economy, in part because New York City, of course, was an early stage viral epicenter, along with Chicago, Detroit, some of the California markets, so on and so forth. Indeed, speaking of California, number 24 is San Francisco, which has lost 6.3% of its pre-existing base of employment. New York lost 6.4%. Who is the governor of California? Why, it's the wickedly handsome Gavin Newsom, utterly gorgeous himself to be a Hollywood actor, very aggressive in keeping that economy shut down. In fact, he was the last governor in the economy, or in the nation, I should say, to reopen his economy. So some governors focus on keeping their economies open. Other governors focus on public health issues and trying to limit spread. It's not for me to say which approach is better. I'm simply suggesting the obvious as an economist that those policies have major economic implications. And I'm reminded of the parable of Humpty Dumpty. Perhaps you've heard of this. Humpty Dumpty was an egg with human characteristics, including legs. And one day, Humpty Dumpty is sitting on a wall, just swinging his legs back and forth, not harming anyone, just minding his own egg business. And somebody, in a very mean spirit, pushes him off that wall. I don't know why, but really unfortunate act in which to have engaged. And Humpty Dumpty's an egg, so he breaks. Now, all the king's horses and all the king's men come to try to put Humpty Dumpty back together again. I'm not sure why the horses were there; they have no hands. But the kings themselves also, the king's men also could not, and apparently the women also could not put Humpty Dumpty back together again. My point is this: we broke the economy, and when we broke the economy, when we, a lot of people lost their jobs, of course. A lot of businesses faltered. We'll talk more about that in a second. It's been tough to put the egg back together again, including getting people back to work. So you might remember at the beginning of the pandemic, the notion was among some people, we might shut this economy down for 2 weeks, maybe 3. And then Dr. Fauci will give us a green light and we'll go back to work and we'll recover the status quo ex ante. But now we're in this for the better part of 2 years. And so what does that mean? That means that behavior has changed. And one of the groups for which behavior has changed is the labor force. Many people have dropped out of the labor force. Many retired early, including baby boomers, for instance. Many of them, about 1.5 million of them, retired earlier than had been anticipated. And then, of course, many folks would like to work from home. They become accustomed to that. And so for those folks who are in the restaurant space, the hotel space, some of those in-person occupational categories, it's been especially difficult to find workers. Minority business owners hit hardest during the worst of the pandemic. Research published by the National Bureau of Economic Research indicates as follows: the number of active business owners in the US plummeted by 3.3 million or 22% from February to April of 2020. That's the largest drop on record. We saw nearly about 1/5 of our businesses destroyed in 2 months. That's a game changer. And you know how hard it is to start a business. You know better than anyone how hard it is to start a business. And then to try to restart that business, very challenging. African American businesses were especially hard hit, with the number of African American business owners falling by 41%. 2 in 5 Black/African American owned businesses gone. And other minority groups also experienced substantial losses as well, as shown by this slide. So this is for that period, February of 2020 to April of 2020, change in the number of self-employed business owners. So you can see that negative 41% there for the Black/African American population. You can see that females were impacted, male-owned businesses were impacted, immigrant-owned businesses were impacted, Asians, Latinx, Native, you name it. And of course, organizations like the Capital Region Minority Supplier Development Council work to do what? To support these businesses. So a lot of these gains in recent years, in terms of the number of these businesses, were hard fought, hard won. And then so much of this was given back, so much of that success was given back during the crisis. So now the question is, how quickly can we rebuild? This gives you another sense of it. So the dark blue colored bar there is February of 2020. The light blue bar is April of 2020. Number of self-employed business owners before and after onset of COVID-19. So just a 2-month coverage period here, February to April of 2020. But you can see among female-owned businesses, male-owned businesses, Black-owned businesses, right? I think we could agree that there were not enough Black/African American owned businesses before the pandemic. And then we lost 41% of them. But every category here, Latinx, Asian, white, immigrant, Native, you can see the same kind of phenomenon. So there has probably never been a more important period, at least during many of our lifetimes, to try to create an environment that's more conducive to entrepreneurship, particularly among certain demographic groups. How COVID-19 impacted member businesses of the Capital Region Minority Supplier Development Council. All right, so this is based on survey data. I don't know why my titles have become messed up in this format, but that's okay. I think you can understand what's going on here. So question, how did this affect your revenues? 30% of the membership said their revenues had declined significantly. 30% said that they decreased somewhat. So 60%, roughly 3 in 5, said we lost revenues. And no one in our survey group, which included many people, as it turns out, said that they saw their revenues increase significantly. Well, of course, it's an environment in which 40% of these businesses are disappearing. Not CRMSDC businesses necessarily, but Black/African American owned businesses. And so it's just not a good time for businesses. Next category. So this is revenues. Here's number of employees. So same thing, members of the CRMSDC, 18.2% said employment fell significantly. Another 36% said decreased somewhat. But that's more than half that said we lost staff. We lost staff during this pandemic. This survey was conducted earlier this year. There were some people who saw employment grow somewhat, right? So the pandemic changed some things, created some opportunities for new segments. There are some stocks that did very well, including the likes of DocuSign during the early stages of the pandemic, Zoom, for instance, of course. Some companies benefited from the pandemic and the shift in behaviors that were attendant with this public health crisis. But you can see here, by and large, really bad news. So this is number of employees. So we've done revenues, number of employees. Here's access to cash among CRMSDC members. So 21.2% said it decreased significantly, 12% said decreased somewhat, 39% said no impact. So In terms of cash availability, this was better. And the federal government's efforts, including the Paycheck Protection Program, but some other programs, to try to get liquidity into the hands of businesses really helped. As helped during both administrations associated with this pandemic, the Trump administration and the Biden administration. In fact, some folks, more than a quarter, said that in fact their access to cash actually increased during the pandemic, and one suspects that paycheck protection might have had something to do with that. This is ability to hire. This is interesting. This is interesting because if you look at this, again, this is based on the survey of our membership here, but significantly harder, 27% said it's hard to hire folks. Yeah, because the workforce has changed. They're asking for more, not just more money. They're asking for more money, but they're not just asking for more money or better benefits. They also want flex time, lots of flex time. They want the opportunity in many cases to work from home. Well, if you're running a restaurant or you're running a warehouse or you're running many other types of establishments, you need people at the job site. And that's where I think the labor force has been most challenging, to hire for those at-place types of jobs. I see lots of professional services firms hiring folks, but those are the types of firms that are able to allow people to work from home, or technology firms, those kinds of things, software development firms. So you look at this, you say 7 in 10 say it's become harder to hire workers. Again, what's amazing about this? We're down 4 million jobs as a country since the pandemic began. So ostensibly it should be quite easy to find workers. It is not. The workforce has changed. And a lot of the baby boomers who had been driving much of the productivity growth in recent decades, they retired earlier than expected. And so here we are. Some people said it's become easier to find workers. That's interesting. It might be because they're able to offer, for instance, remote jobs, remote work. So final slide, the outlook. Look, one of the aspects of this is that inflation has been stickier than anticipated. And some of this relates to the global supply chain. We could talk all day about ships waiting off the port of Los Angeles or Long Beach or off the port of Savannah in Georgia, whatever it happens to be, or the shutdown of the Austrian economy, the fact that the Malaysian economy is not producing enough semiconductors for the auto industry. We could talk about these things all day long. But there's some aspects of inflation that do not relate to these global supply chain issues, which will continue to resolve themselves in 2022 into 2023. People's demands for compensation are higher than they used to be. So that's a sticky form of inflation. Moreover, things like apartment rents are really rising right now, in part because homes have become so expensive that a lot of people who would want to purchase a home can't find one that they can afford, so they end up renting in apartments. That drives up occupancy and rents. That's sticky type of inflation. Now, in part because of stimulus, but also because of the rebound of the economy, the demand side of the economy is in pretty good shape. Demand remains pretty elevated. It's really been the supply side that has been the constraint. And so what have we had? Product shortages and higher inflation. Accumulated household savings is quite high. And business investment is up, by the way. Why is business investment up? Because people can't find workers. So a lot of businesses are looking for equipment that enhances productivity so they can do more with fewer people. Now, Omicron, this new variant, extends the supply side challenges because economies are shutting down once again. The German economy might be on the verge of some meaningful shutdown activity because of first Delta and now the Omicron variant, which has people very nervous, including economists. But Omicron is also, potentially will dampen demand because fewer people will feel safe taking vacations, going out to restaurants, whatever it happens to be. So this is a threat to the economy. The bigger getting bigger. Small businesses have to be more strategic than ever. So one of the things that's happened is we've seen lots of mergers and consolidations, lots of private equity investment, lots of hedge fund investment, lots of liquidity in general. And so big businesses have generally gotten much, much bigger. Amazon got bigger during the pandemic. And Amazon might be a competitor to some of you. So small businesses have to be even more strategic given the supply chain challenges, given the labor force challenges, so on and so forth. So the most important relationships, in my judgment, of course, family, right? Children, spouses, of course, friends, but also bankers and insurers. Because those of us who had a good banking relationship coming to this pandemic really benefited when it came time to try to access paycheck protection monies. So if this ever happens again, one of the things you want to make sure is that your relationship with your banker is a really good one. I would urge you to take them to lunch, and a good one. And also your insurance professional, who you might not know the name of. You should learn that name, because they're important too during moments of economic stress. And with that, I give it back to Sharon and Frank. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Wow. Thank you, Annabon Basu. And you know, Frank, why we always go to him as a source, not because he shows up on television as the expert, but because we know that we can get some real life data. I like the fact that he incorporated data that we were able to provide through the surveys and et cetera, to see exactly where we are, but always an enjoyable presentation. And so thank you, Anna Bamba. So, Frank, I think that today has been kind of enjoyable. We're about to go into the next phase talking about awards.
Wow, I'm excited to go into that area. I do want to thank Dr. Basu. He's always entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I think of economists, I think of school and being bored, but he really makes it. He really brings those numbers to light, and at the same time drive the point of the importance of understanding the economics. I'm going to invite my insurance agent, and I'm going to call my banker. I'm going to take them to lunch,
You know
and
what?
I'll pay it off.
that was very, very good advice. And we heard some sage advice as well from President Ying McGuire earlier today. And hopefully folks got a taste of the things that we were able to accomplish this year through our year of review. And of course, all the great things that the MBIC committee continues to do as well.
Oh, that's an awesome committee.
Mm-hmm.
I was so amazed. I had an opportunity to spend some time with them earlier this year, and what really amazes me is they're volunteering, and come to find out, a bunch of entrepreneur CEOs that's willing to take time out of their schedule to support this mission and to help us grow the MB. It was just simply amazing.
You know what? And that speaks volumes to the value of the value systems of the entrepreneurs that we call our certified MBEs. And so that's awesome. But I think you have somewhat of a surprise for them, don't you?
I actually do.
Okay.
You know, and it's my honor and privilege to be able to award the Chairman's Award, and that award recognizes individuals that are trailblazers in advancing the economic inclusion, development, and advancements of minority-owned businesses. So it's you know, in hearing some of the work that they've been doing, and it's not this year, it's throughout the years. They are national. I think they set the standard nationally, and I'm biased because I'm a part of the council, because we have so many talented MBEs as well as corporation individuals that's a part of our council. So in selecting and awarding the Chairman's Award, I looked at the MBEIC committee and the work that they were doing in the community, which was, you know, it was awesome, giving out and providing over 1,500 books to the schools. In addition, creating the legislative affairs committee. Had an opportunity to talk with some of the folks on that. Secretary Ree and I joined them. And it's just truly amazing what they can do. Creating the Pitch Mania. I really enjoyed Pitch Mania. I'm still happy. I'm singing happy after going through that, and to really get an opportunity to see our MBEs in action. So without further ado, it's my honor and privilege to award the 2021 Chairman Award to the MBE Input Committee. We want to thank the chair, Kevin Williams, and his team for doing an outstanding work and really representing us as a council. And, again, I'm biased because I believe the Capital Region Minority Supply Development Council, we are the standard bearers, especially relative to the MBE Input Committee and the work that they're doing.
Wow.
There you go, sir.
Chairman Kelly, let me just say, accepting this award on behalf of all of the MBE Input Committee is the chairman, Kevin Williams. Hi, Kevin. Listen, let me just share with you on behalf of all of these amazing servant leaders who volunteer their time to serve this council and to advocate on behalf of all of our MBEs across DC, Maryland, and Virginia. Anthony, all of your contributions. Mercedita, probably one of the best secretaries on the planet, has kept me straight for 4 years, and we look forward to working with you again in your capacity there and your new appointment on the board. Cora Williams, thank you so much for all of your love and time and patience and wise counsel as one of our favorite Corporate Plus members. We celebrate you in your work for the council, and we celebrate you in your quest to enjoy every day that the master allows you to do what you do in your sunsetting out of the council. Gideon, our regional vice chairs, Gideon Fernandez, Nazra Abdi from ACI Solutions, Vinny Raj, Mark Evans, regional chairs for Maryland, Kevin Marshall, Sonia Hobson, congratulations on your new board seat, Stacy Brown from Sinorama, Ted and Sandra Marley from LPR International, the regional vice chairs for DC, Thomas Sanchez from Social Driver, Kay Hamilton, amazing work, folks. John Claude Fresnel, thank you. Janice Vieira, amazing, amazing work. All of our committee chairs for community service and legislative affairs and CEO roundtable, you guys are the thought leaders for what it's going to take for us to do what we're doing for this MBEIC for all of our MBEs, and really quickly have become the council to look for all of the councils nationwide, including Puerto Rico, as you're sharing your ideas and your successes with other councils all over the country who are beginning to duplicate the work that you've done here for CRMSDC. So on behalf of the Input Committee, I accept this award, Chairman, and appreciate you recognizing us. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Kevin.
MBE input. So what a great selection, Mr. Chairman, in terms of honoring those folks who work so hard on behalf of the council and our minority business suppliers. That's absolutely wonderful. I have the honor and opportunity to be able to present the President's Award this year. And so when you look at the President's Award, it honors individuals who have enhanced the growth of minority business enterprise community through their commitment and dedication to the council. They have been a strong supporter of the council. Their leadership with us make our council really great. These two gentlemen that honoring this year are not only great leaders, but they're inspiring leaders, and they inspire me as well. And so the first recipient of the 2021 President Award is Mr. Graylin Smith. And Graylin is managing partner for SB & Company, one of the most successful accounting firms in our region. And he also serves as the chair of our finance committee. I mean, we're very blessed to be able to have that talent as a part, but it also speaks to the talent and skills and resources of the MBEs that we have in our portfolio. Now, Graylin could not be with us today, and we will accept the award on his behalf, but we are very grateful for the time and effort. And as Kevin said, these are volunteers, but the level of commitment is just second to none. And so we thank Graylin for that. Our next recipient, you ever see, if you ever watch late night television and there is something that they have for sale, and then they say, for $19.99, it will give you A, B, C, and D. And if you do that, they'll say, wait, there's more. But for the next recipient, I'd like to say, wait, there's more. And that person is Mr. Kevin Williams. Yes, this is the year of MBEs and how, and although it's every year, but we're taking special pride and recognition to advance our award recognition to our MBEs. And it was really interesting that there was, the President's Award and the Chairman's Award kind of intersected. Well, that indeed becomes evidence that there's something wonderful going on. So, Kevin, congratulations. If you can come on and accept your award, I would certainly appreciate it.
Wow, Sharon, thank you so very, very much. I am going to take a point of privilege and thank, I want to thank the master for allowing me to be able to do the work that I do on behalf of all of these MBEs in this amazing organization. This piece of hardware is going to rest on the mantle with all the other things. I wish I could, add the money to all of these awards. I know it's coming one of these days. It's coming. I know it's coming. I know you hear me. I know you're listening. You hear me. I know the money's coming along with these. But I want to just say thank you, Sharon, for your commitment, to the organization and to your support of the work that the MBEs have done, over the years, and a special congratulations and recognition to Graylin for the amazing work that he's done and being the recipient of the other President's Award. So again, on behalf of my family and my partner, Earl Bentley, I just want to say thank you so much for recognizing us with the President's Award. We're greatly appreciative. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very, very much. And as we're kind of thanking folks, I also want, before Kevin, we do the Corporation of the Year, I would not be remiss. I have to thank the team at Capital Region Minority Supply Development Council, because without them, none of this would be possible. And we have an amazing team of individuals who work daily from sun up to sundown and then some. Relative to the work and the support of the council. And they not only, they don't give it lip service, they believe it. It's in there. They bleed CRMSDC. As a manager, you could not ask for more. And so when I look at folks like Sonia Bigelow-Smith, Latoya Moore, Nicole Miles, Christine Bivens, Earl Taylor, Tommy Marks, Claudia Brera, and I am hoping I do not forget someone. That's what happens when you do it off the top of your head, and somebody will ping me and let me know. But I just wanted to take a moment to, and the consultants that we have, particularly on our center as well. And so we're very blessed. And I just wanted to make sure that we said that. But our next award is going to somebody and an organization that has been tireless in its efforts to work toward diversity and inclusion. I think you will agree, Kevin.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We just are so pleased this year, and for many years prior to this year, to have worked with this amazing individual who has been faithful in his servant leadership to this council and to our MBEs in the network locally and across the nation. So without further ado, we'd like to recognize the Corporation of the Year for 2022, 2021, and 2022 is the incomparable, the incredible, the amazing Rupert Warner.
Yay! Yay!
Congratulations, Rupert.
Good morning, everyone. On behalf of the United States Postal Service, it's my honor to accept the award. The award is a confirmation of the Postal Service's commitment to the minority community. The award is again, it's a commitment. It ensures the commitment that we're making to provide access and opportunity to minority businesses. It increases capacity, or it's proof that we're trying to increase capacity and also build a reciprocal relationship with businesses like yours, along with our customers, so that everyone has access to universal service. So again, thank you, CRMSDC.
You're welcome.
Yes, and you're quite welcome, Rupert. We absolutely are just very grateful for all that you do and have done for the organization, and we know that you will continue to do as it relates to do that, right? And so,
Absolutely. I'm
um,
looking forward to the new year and a new board of officers. I'm looking forward to the challenges that we've had since COVID and coming out of or emerging successfully.
yeah, and if we can have more people like you in terms of you just not only just smooth, right? It was just your style of delivery. We're just so very, very grateful. And so
Thank you.
thank you very, very much. And
Thank
so
you.
we're coming toward the end. And remember, I told you about thanking my team. And that's what happens when you try to do stuff off the cuff, when you know, um, get to be my age. And that if you ever said that I said that, I'll say you're lying. But I forgot to mention Joan Harrison and Gina Dyson. Could not forget. Again, the hardest working team in America, but I just wanted to say that. And as I do say that, I'd like to bring back our chair for his closing remarks as he officially close out his tenure as chair. And again, Frank, thank you very much for the commitment. Exelon has been committed for quite some time, and we know that you are the wizard behind the curtain as it relates to your commitment to the council. So on behalf of the council and its board of directors, I'd like to thank you for your service over the years. And we continue. We will count on seeing you beyond. Don't think you could go and lay on some beach somewhere. I know too much, right? Don't
Yeah.
think you're just gonna go away and it not happen. And so thank you. And so I will now give the floor to you. Thank you.
And thank you, Sharon, for your leadership and your support. And I want to take the time out to thank all the awards recipients once again. The national president, CEO, and President Ying McGuire, Dr. Basu, and all that participated in and helped to make this event a great event. It's kind of bittersweet for me, and I want to take the privilege of again thanking all the board members for your support and your faith in me and trusting me with the responsibility to lead. Though I will no longer be the chair of this great council, I take comfort in knowing that my successor, Sakira Garcia, and the entire executive team, Sharon Pender, Kim, and the rest, I know that the board is in good hands, and that the board will continue to advance business opportunities for certified minority-owned businesses and continue to connect them to the corporate members in this capital region and beyond. This new administration, I have full confidence and support in. And, I'm excited about some of the signature events coming up, especially the 50-year celebration, where I know the future is really bright for CRMSDC. Again, thank you for the opportunity to serve. I want to thank everyone for joining us today, and I wish you a safe and joyful holiday season. Thank you.